Nigeria's headline inflation declined marginally to 11.14% in July from 11.23% in June this year. Bismarck Rewane, CEO of Financial Derivatives, joins me to unpack this report. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the show. I'm not really a fan of numbers, especially when it comes to inflation figures and the 11 points and what's playing. I like to find out what really played on behind the scenes with these inflation figures we've seen.
What has happened is that for the 18th consecutive month, headline inflation, which compares the price of a basket of items last year with the price this year, has declined. Okay? But what is interesting is that the rate of decline has slowed to actually 0.09, which means we have got to the bottom of that cycle. And what next is that you're going to see some flatlining and then an increase. Why is this important? It's important because when you look at all the other measures of inflation, core inflation, food inflation, urban and rural inflation, and month-on-month inflation, they all went in the same direction, but all at a slower pace. So it's quite clear now that the base year effects of 2017, which made 2017 a different year from 2018, have all but vanished.
So does this mean that we're never going to hit our single digits anytime this year?
That's wishful thinking. I don't think it's going to happen soon. Quite frankly, let us look at the factors that are going to determine inflation going on forward. There's seasonality, which is inflation, harvest, planting season, and all that. However, core inflation measures inflation less seasonality, and that has gone down from 10.4 to 10.2. That's the bottom of the line. Now, money supply growth. It is said that inflation is a money supply phenomenon. Money supply growth, which has been contracting, now has expanded by 2.79, annualized at about 5.58%. 1. 2. Only 2 days ago, the federal government announced with all glee that they've increased the allowances of the National Youth Corps from 19,800 to 50,000. That's more than 100%.
Yes.
Along the same line, we expect a minimum wage review from 18,000 naira, right? Is it going to go in the same direction?
With the NYSC.
With the NYSC. So let's imagine that happens. Let's imagine that election spending has started, and you can see it already, because everything is about elections. All of these factors convince us, that the economists, that we are into that cycle when money supply is going to be growing at a rate higher than we thought. Don't forget also that in the month of July, because this is July inflation,
yes,
this was the month in which all the states were starved their FAC, because ostensibly there was a reconciliation problem between NNPC and the Federal Ministry of Finance. Purported, right, yes, disagreement. And therefore, they didn't release the money until the end of July, and released some money again at the early August. So we had 1.4 trillion naira into the market, where ordinarily they would have had 600 billion naira. Yes. What does this mean? It means that state governments who didn't have money now have paid their workers. Your youth corps people are going to get this. Election spending is taking place. Yes, the harvest has started, but what we are seeing is that even in spite of the harvest, we've seen the price of onions go up by 17%. Onions is not, but pepper has also gone up.
It has.
Right? So what we've seen is gari, yam normally, gari, yam, and also tomatoes have come down. Right? But they've not come down as significantly as they would have come down at this time of the year. One other factor is that the herdsmen, farmers, is also disrupting the supply chain, yes, to the market, right? So all indicators point to the fact that we have bottomed out. Even the IMF is saying that, yes. And the central bank says, if this happens, we are going to have to increase interest rates. It's quite interesting. The other thing is that credit to the private sector also shrank. So, quite frankly, I won't be surprised if in the month of August we go back to about 11.4, 11.3.
Where do you see bottoming out by the end of the year?
No, it's not going to bottom out. At the end of the year, my projection is that we'll be at 13% inflation.
That's going back to where we're coming from.
Well, we came from as high as 15, 16 down. So this happens normally as you enter the electoral cycle. And this is going to be, there's a lot of theatrics taking place right now, politically. Yeah. So the more the theatrics, the more the fact there's going to be a two-way race between the PDP alliance on one hand and the APC on the other.
I always like to ask, how can anyone make the best out of what is before us at the moment? We're going to be seeing, of course, the CBN announce possibly maybe certain policies or certain decisions being taken, but how can we make the best of what's going to come?
See, what's going to happen, fiscal policy, which is in the hands of elected and appointed officials, you're going to see increased spending, increased investment, in spite of all the political theatrics. There's going to be a major push to ensure that the impact of this spending is felt. You're going to have contracts awarded for rail rehabilitation and all of that, but contracts awarded mean mobilization will be paid, but the products will not get in.
True.
The impact of these investments are not going to be felt until after the election. Sure. That is the actual impact. But the financial impact, that is the monetary surge created by it, will be felt. So the negative part will be felt, but the positive impact will not be known. So you hear that the Lagos Metro line is not going to be completed until 2022, which is quite interesting. Now, but you are going to be spending money from now to 2022 without getting the benefit. Okay?
Yes.
So these are the things that are going to be driving fundamentally inflation. Now, one other variable that is in there, which we cannot ignore, is that the pressure on the exchange rate is going to start. The reserves have depleted by almost $1 billion. It's below 47, it's now 46.7. This is going to continue. The Turkish problem has meant that all emerging markets that are borrowed or leveraged, all emerging markets that depend on portfolio flows to support to create external balance are going to be vulnerable. And Nigeria cannot escape that. So if the exchange rate comes under pressure, and nobody is going to adjust its exchange rate until after the election, because it will be a kiss of death. Therefore, you have to use other tools to create some balance. And that is what the monetary policy will try to maintain, a sense of stability. The monetary policy makers, while the fiscal policy makers will have to continue on the mandate of ensuring that the economic recovery and growth plan does not get derailed.
All right, then.